On March 17, 2021, a Chinese company announced two things on the same day. First, its annual buyers had reached 788 million, more than Alibaba. The throne of Chinese e-commerce had changed hands for the first time. Second, its founder was leaving. 41 years old, standing at the very top, he gave up his board seat, gave up super voting shares worth 10 votes each, and walked away. That single day, his fortune dropped by $4 billion. The company was less than 6 years old. Most founders spend their whole lives trying to reach that seat. He left on the day he took it. And to understand why, you have to understand the machine he built. A machine that turned cheapness into a weapon, turned customers into a sales force, and in the end, did not even need its own creator. His name is Colin Huang. This is the story of Pinduoduo. The story starts on the outskirts of Hangzhou, where Huang was born in 1980 to two factory workers. He tested into the elite honors college of Zhejiang University to study computer science, then took a master's degree at the University of Wisconsin. In 2004, he didn't stay at Microsoft, where he had interned. He joined a company that hadn't even gone public yet, Google. Months later, Google IPO'd, and the stock options made a kid in his 20s financially free. But the man who truly changed his life was Duan Yongping. Duan is one of the most mysterious godfathers of Chinese business. He built the electronics empire BBK, incubated the phone brands Oppo and Vivo, then retired in his early 40s and moved to California to invest. Almost nobody in the West knows his name. Inside China's business circles, he is the billionaire behind the billionaires. In 2006, Duan paid $620,000 for Warren Buffett's charity lunch. He brought along a 26-year-old guest, Colin Huang. Huang later said that lunch taught him the power of simplicity and common sense. A year later, Duan handed him a small e-commerce unit to practice on. Then came a decade of apprenticeship, an online store, an e-commerce services firm, and a game studio. E-commerce plus games. Remember those two ingredients. Weld them together and you get Pinduoduo. By 2015, Chinese e-commerce looked finished. Alibaba was moving 2.44 trillion yuan of goods a year, with 350 million buyers. JD had 155 million customers and its own delivery network. Between those two mountains, a new platform had no business surviving. Huang saw a different China. People who never searched for brands, never cared about sleek design, and asked only one question: can it get any cheaper? The China outside the big city Fifth Ring Road. Pinduoduo's answer was team buying. One person starts a deal, pulls in family and friends, and the price drops. The buyer saves money. The merchant gets concentrated orders, and the platform gets the most expensive thing on the internet: distribution, for free. Every customer recruits the next one. Traditional e-commerce buys traffic with cash. Pinduoduo got you to paste the link into your family group chat with your own hands. Then it added the games. Spin the wheel, fill the progress bar, bargain it down to zero. The psychology is borrowed straight from casinos. The closer the bar gets to 100%, the harder it is to walk away. The low prices were not magic. Part came from concentrated orders and factory direct selling. The rest, the platform simply paid for. In 2020, Pinduoduo spent 41.2 billion yuan on sales and marketing, nearly 70% of its entire revenue, and lost 7.2 billion yuan for the year. It was buying growth with losses, and the growth was unprecedented. 3 years, 300 million buyers, and a NASDAQ listing. 34 months from founding to opening bell. On IPO day, Huang's stake was worth $14 billion. He was 38. The bill arrived just as fast. The platform flooded with knockoffs. Chinese shoppers nicknamed it Pin Xia Xia, roughly Shoddy Duoduo. Regulators summoned the company. The internet laughed. The machine's answer was not an apology. It was escalation. In 2019, it launched 10 billion subsidies. The platform paying out of its own pocket to sell genuine iPhones at the lowest price on the Chinese internet. The place that sold fakes now sold the cheapest real iPhone in the country. The city crowd that mocked it kept forwarding the jokes. and quietly placed orders. By the end of 2020, 788 million annual buyers. Alibaba, 779. The machine that grew out of just one more cut and it's free had swallowed the biggest user base in China in 5 years. But a growth machine has one defining feature. It does not break, no matter who is standing in front of it. At 1:30 in the morning, December 29, 2020, a 22-year-old employee in Pinduoduo's grocery unit, her name was Zhang, online she went by Run Fei, collapsed on her way home from work in Urumqi. 6 hours later, she was dead. As the outrage spread, Pinduoduo's official account posted a reply that would become infamous. Look at the people at the bottom of society. Which one of them isn't trading their life for money? The post was deleted within minutes. The company apologized. Shanghai's labor authorities opened an investigation, but the sentence had already cut the machine open, and everyone saw what was inside. In front of growth, people, users, employees, are fuel. Users got the same arithmetic. In 2021, a Shanghai lawyer named Liu Yuhang joined Bargain to Get It Free. The page told him he was just 0.9% away, forever, so he sued. In court, Pinduoduo explained the real number. Because the page only displayed one decimal place, 0.9% was actually 0.9996427%. You thought you were one cut away. You were 6 decimal places away. In 2022, the court ruled Pinduoduo had violated his right to know as a consumer and ordered it to pay him 400 yuan, about $60. A company worth hundreds of billions of yuan fined the price of a pair of sneakers. The verdict changed nothing. The machine was already driving overseas, and Colin Huang, at the exact center of all this noise, chose the day of the coronation, March 17, 2021, the day his machine passed Alibaba, to resign from everything. He said he was leaving to study food science and life science. He had already pledged shares worth billions of yuan to charity. 41 years old, one of the richest men in China, and he essentially never appeared in public again. Some say he was simply done. Others point out the timing. It was the year Beijing's regulatory hammer fell on big tech. Jack Ma vanished from view, Ant's IPO was killed. Letting go at the very top may have been the smartest trade of his career. Because here is the thing. The founder left, and the machine sped up. September 2022. Boston. Temu goes live. The same machine under a new name, sailing for the rest of the world. Rock-bottom prices, spinning wheels, countdown timers. Shop like a billionaire. At the 2024 Super Bowl, it burned tens of millions of dollars in a single night on repeated ads and giveaways. And for a stretch, it was the second biggest advertiser on all of Meta, behind only Amazon. America's first reaction was addiction. Its second was the exact question China had asked years earlier. And the first answer that came back was uglier than anyone expected. In March 2023, Google pulled Pinduoduo's main app off its store worldwide. Security researchers had found that some versions of the app were exploiting zero-day Android vulnerabilities, granting themselves permissions, monitoring users, reaching for control of the phone itself. One researcher called it some of the most malicious code ever seen in a mainstream app. A shopping app, treating your phone as territory to be conquered for growth. June 2023, a U.S. House committee reported that Temu had virtually no system to keep goods made with forced labor out of American homes. November 2024, the EU's Consumer Protection Network formally accused it of fake discounts, pressure selling, and forced gamification. Spin the wheel, or you don't get in. In 2025, Washington killed the duty-free rule for small parcels, snapping the machine's sharpest cost advantage. And in May 2026, the European Commission fined Temu 200 million euros, not for selling dangerous products, but for never even building the system to assess that risk. The machine did not care. The machine kept running. Then came the most ironic scene of all. In August 2024, Temu's ferocious growth pushed the long-retired Colin Huang to the top of China's rich list. He did nothing. The machine crowned him. 18 days later, Pinduoduo reported earnings. His own hand-picked successor, CEO Chen Lei, repeated one sentence to analysts. The one sentence capital markets fear most. Our current profitability is not sustainable. The stock fell 28.5% in a single day. Huang lost $14.1 billion, the biggest one-day loss of his life. The crown was gone. He hadn't touched the controls in 3 years. The machine crowned him anyway. Then it knocked the crown off, all by itself. Looking back, Pinduoduo's real invention was never a cheaper kettle or a discounted iPhone. It proved that growth itself can be engineered into a self-driving machine. Cheapness as fuel, your social relationships as the conveyor belt, casino psychology as the lubricant. A machine that needs no brand, no trust, and eventually, no founder. But a machine with no face is a machine no one answers for. An employee dies, it grows. Users get played, it grows. The fines land, it grows. So the colder question is this: when a machine runs faster than regulators, hits harder than competitors, and no longer needs the man who built it, who can make it stop? Welcome to Empire Motive. We look for the real motives behind business empires.